Repairs in King's Landing were progressing under the plans of the hand of the king. The Red Keep was once again gleaming with that reddish hue reminiscent of all the wars, sweat, death, power, fire, and blood. At the top of the Hand's Tower, one of the many council meetings was being prepared. In that room, with a long table in the center, surrounded by elegant and sturdy chairs, there was a small space at the end of the table, the place of the King of Westeros. After a few minutes, the councillors entered the room and immediately sat down upon the arrival of His Majesty. At the head of the table was the hand of the king, the dwarf Tyrion Lannister. Seated beside him, to the right, was the Master of Coin, Bronn, Lord of Highgarden. To the left was the Master of Ships, Sir Davos Seaworth. Continuing to the right was the new Master of War, Jon Royce, Lord of Runestone. And to the left was the Master of Laws, Edmure Tully, Lord of Riverrun. Finally, beside the king, on the left, sat the Lord Commander of the King's Guard, Brienne of Tarth. And across from her was Grand Maester Samwell Tarly. Before addressing the realm's issues, the council congratulated the Lord of the Riverlands on the birth of his second son with Roslyn Frey. He thanked them and explained the current situation of his lands. With the disappearance of House Frey, Lord Tully, Warden of the North, had granted the twins and its surroundings to House Mallister for their unwavering loyalty and contributions to every war. Furthermore, Edmure mentioned that the Blackwoods and the Brackens had temporarily set aside their differences to help rebuild the Riverlands, which had been ravaged as the epicenter of many raids and battles. Lord Edmure Tully also requested the king's help in controlling the Dothraki settled in Harrenhal. The horse and gold are not the only things these barbarians desire. The only thing with their steel and cannot live without blood running down their curved swords, exclaimed Lord Tully. King Brandon Stark ordered the Lord of the Riverlands not to worry about the Dothraki, as he would personally deal with the problem. The hand of the king then spoke about the situation in the Westerlands. After the death of his two siblings, the lands governed by the Lannisters were now under the control of the dwarf, who had once been mocked and humiliated. But now everyone owed their loyalty to the last Lannister of Casterly Rock, Warden of the West and Hand of the King. Tyrion Lannister had entrusted one of his last relatives in Lannisport, Lord Tyrek Lannister, to govern the Westerlands with an iron fist, following his lord's orders. One of these orders was, if any of our bannermen decide to spit on the oath of loyalty they once swore, they will pray to the gods that our forces leave some foundations of their precious castles standing. The Lord of the Lannisters clarified that the situation in the Westerlands was optimal, only needing time to recover the economy and military splendor of their lands. The Master of War, Jon Royce, elaborated that the lands of the Vale were prospering, under the rule of Robin Arryn, Warden of the East. He also mentioned that he never thought this boy could become a capable man, but he finally had. Though it is no surprise, being the legitimate son of such a skilled lord as Jon Arryn, Royce added. He concluded by saying that the mountain clans had been weakened and were practically abolished. Next, the Master of Coin, as the new Lord of the Reach and Warden of the South, explained that all the bannermen of House Tyrell had obeyed the king and sworn loyalty to their new lord. However, rumors had reached him that some houses were discontent, viewing Bronn as a foreign commoner with no legitimacy over the Reach, and that in time they might prepare their armies to attack the new House Blackwater, to take control of Highgarden and the Reach. Bronn suspected that the potential rebels might be House Hightower, which currently commanded the largest army in the Reach and one of the strongest in all of Westeros. Another possible traitorous house could be House Redwyne, located south of Old Town, with a strong army and an even stronger fleet. However, Bronn doubted the Redwynes would dare to go to war, viewing their lord as a cowardly but intelligent man, thus dismissing their treachery. Finally, he mentioned House Fossaway, who treated him with disdain, but ultimately obeyed. These three houses were the suspects of conspiring against their lord and the crown. His Majesty Brandon Stark declared that if evidence of such accusations was found, they would be brought to justice. In the event of a rebellion against Bronn of the Blackwater, the royal army and its bannermen would answer the call of war to maintain order and security in the realm. In any case, he hinted that he would have his eyes on those lands to observe any unusual movements. With everyone having explained the state of their lands, Lord Davos Seaworth, Master of Ships, emphasized that the Stormlands were enjoying a time of peace, and that their lord, Gendry Baratheon, was performing exemplary duties as Lord of Storm's End. He also mentioned that all of House Baratheon's vassals were pleased with their new lord actions, and would die for him if necessary. As Master of Ships, Davos requested the crown began construction of a new royal fleet, as 95% of the ships directly serving the crown had been burned by Daenerys Targaryen's dragons during the war. The Master of Coin requested time from the king to execute the naval project, as the kingdom needed more years to stabilize its economy. Although the Lannisters had settled the kingdom's debts, new ones had been incurred for the kingdom's wars, repairs, and the capital's reconstruction. Brandon Stark gave Bronn a year to initiate the naval project requested by the Master of Ships. The Lord Commander of the Kingsguard suggested the need to recruit new members for the Guard, as it currently consisted only of herself and Sir Podrick Payne. The Hand of the King advised His Majesty to think carefully about the recruitment of his guard, selecting men skilled with steel but also honest and loyal individuals. He concluded by saying, "This war lacks people with pure hearts, so you must be very cautious, Your Grace." The king agreed, accepting both his Lord Commander's proposal and his Hand's counsel, and thus will proceed with caution in the selection. To conclude the meeting of the small council, Samuel Tarley presented two messages that had arrived at King's Landing shortly before the council began. One bore the emblem of House Martell of Dawn. The Grand Maester opened the message, and in a few words, Quentin Martell, the new Prince of Dawn, stated that the situation in the south was magnificent, and that his loyalty to the crown remained his greatest pride. If needed, Martell troops or resources would be offered immediately to support the crown and the people of the realm. The other raven carried a message bearing the golden kraken, emblem of House Greyjoy. Samuel Tarley began to read, and suddenly, with a look of fear and concern, he gazed at his king and shouted, "Asher Greyjoy is dead! There is a new lord of the Iron Islands!" He then fixed his eyes on the note, and with a voice filled with total dread, he concluded, "Sign it, Tyrion Greyjoy is coming, your grace."